I want to bring in Florida Congresswoman Cammack, Congresswoman. Florida, comfortably red state, obviously, but what chances do you think these socialists have to find a foothold in your state?
Well, in the state of Florida, it's going to be a situation where you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, and he's going to win a very stupid prize tomorrow night, because not only do Republicans enjoy a 1.5 million voter registration advantage, but even those that find themselves in the middle, they are not going to be buying what this candidate is selling. You have to remember, Jared Moskowitz, he represents South Florida, and South Florida is home to some of the biggest diaspora that fled socialist nations. So when you talk about the socialist platform and what they want to do, you're talking to Cubans in South Florida. You're talking to Venezuelans, to Haitians, to people who have seen the worst and the worst outcomes of socialism. So I think that message is going to fall flat. I think Jared will cruise to a victory in his primary tomorrow. And honestly, it was going to be a message that is going to be sent resoundingly that the DSA, they have no home when it comes to the free state of Florida.
Okay, so socialism may not hurt Jared Moskowitz, someone that I'm sure you do work with in the House of Representatives. But there's another angle here I wanted to ask you about with Florida. There's a Politico article this morning, and this is the point. It says data center opposition faces its newest test in the primary elections in Florida. Politico writes this: from the governor's race to county commission elections, candidates statewide have taken strong positions and in some cases are campaigning on data centers. Can you expand on this and tell us more?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that what people forget to include when they talk about the issue of data centers and compute power is a couple of things. One, when you talk about AI broadly, you have two strategies that you have to employ when we're talking about the development and diffusion. The diffusion strategy of how are Americans adopting that technology on our phones, in our healthcare systems, in education, all across the entire spectrum. And the other side of it is, in order to do that, you have to have the compute power. There's been a huge amount of investment made, almost over $500 billion into building up that compute power. So you have to have the two strategies that make it work. Now, there's been a massive cognitive warfare effort by our adversaries, namely Russia, China, and Iran, to stop that compute power from developing. Where does that compute power come from? The data centers. And of course, China is itching to take the lead in the AI race. And so you want to understand that all of that negative advertising, all of the AI quote unquote slop that you see on social media that is anti-AI data center, the lion's share of that is actually being generated by our adversaries, and people don't understand that. And so this has impacted races where you have people saying, I don't want AI data centers. And if that is a decision that a locality wants to make, then they should make that. But there should not be federal moratoriums coming down saying that we're not going to compete against our adversaries. That would just be silly.
So you're of the opinion that this negative pushback, the not in my backyard movement, you're saying not only is it coming from China, but you're saying this is happening nationwide. This isn't just in Florida.
Oh, this is everywhere. I have seen this from California to Florida and everywhere in between. And when we talk to many of the experts in this space, you can find the signatures of a Chinese generated AI anti-data center video that is being pushed across social media in the United States. When you talk about the Iranian engagement that we're involved in right now, you can find Iranian signatures in so much of the AI generated propaganda that's being pushed. And when I talk to people and I say, listen, are you against Chinese farmland being in the United States? And they said, absolutely. And I said, so why would you be sharing Chinese propaganda online about AI data centers? And they said, well, I didn't realize that it was China that was doing it. And so I would say that this will go down as one of the most effective Chinese and Russian propaganda efforts in recent history if they are successful in effectively banning our compute power development.
That is fascinating, Congresswoman. I want to stay, if you don't mind, with the Florida primaries. Liz Peek is on set. She's also got a question for you about tomorrow's primary. Liz, go ahead.
Yeah, good morning. And by the way, that was just brilliant, what you just said. And I wish everybody had that message kind of phoned into them in some way. I'm interested in the Jewish vote in Florida. These DSA-backed candidates, the #1 issue typically is anti-Israel, and this fellow, Oliver Larkin, is no exception to that. How do you think that plays in his district?
Well, Florida has zero tolerance when it comes to anti-Semitism. And as someone who represents the largest Jewish student body in the United States, we take it very seriously. And so I think you're going to have a resounding rejection of these types of candidates who espouse this rhetoric that is extremely hateful, extremely dangerous. And we're seeing this not just in state house races, but of course in federal races. We're even seeing this in some of the local races where you've had this undercurrent popping up. But I am very confident that people in Florida, especially, we understand what's at stake and we see where these people are coming from. We want them to crawl back under the rock that they emerged from, because, like I said, anti-Semitism has no place here. And we are very proud of our Jewish brothers and sisters here in the state of Florida. And Liz, I gotta say, girl, you hit it so perfectly when you were talking about how the cities and states that are the highest tax rates, that have the highest cost of living, they're run by Democrats. They're run by people who literally are chanting tax billionaires and tax more. And oh, that was so good.
Yeah, well, we like her. We're going to keep her, Congresswoman. Yeah, we're fans of Liz Peek here. I want to ask you real quick before you go about what's happening in Washington. So Republicans are looking, obviously, to hold on to razor-thin majorities in both the House and the Senate. Democrats do lead Republicans on a generic ballot poll by 8 points, leading with voters on the economy, despite the rise of these candidates in socialism that we've talked about. You know, Vice President J.D. Vance shared a warning to Republicans about economic messaging. Watch this.
My warning to my fellow Republicans, Will, would be if we don't get this right, don't blame young people for being sympathetic to socialism. We've got to blame ourselves. And I think what is so unique and refreshing about Donald Trump's economic policies is that it's not the same old economic, ideas that you would have heard 30, 40 years ago. He's talking about rebuilding our industrial base, rebuilding the heartland, making our streets safer, making it possible for young people to afford to buy a home. This is how you stop socialism. You don't stop socialism by throwing slogans at people about the free market. As much as I love the free market, you stop socialism by making people's lives better. And that's what we're trying to do every single day.
You know, Congresswoman, a recent Fox News poll found that just 50% of Americans have a positive view of capitalism. So, look, how do Republicans turn this around before November? That economic messaging is so crucial right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I understand really the spirit of what the vice president was getting at. We have a failed education system in so many respects. And so when people are talking about socialism, they talk about, oh, this is great. I'll actually have a shot at the American dream. That's what they have been taught. They're not taught of the horrors and the evils of socialism and how it destructs everything around it. The thing that I really want to emphasize here is that when it comes down to it, voters in November of all ages are going to have to make the decision. Do they want equal opportunity, or do they want equal outcome? Socialism is equal outcome, and capitalism, it is equal opportunity. And I think at the end of the day, Americans are uniquely built for equal opportunity. We want our shot at the American dream. And how we do that is through the really not sexy work of permitting reform and deregulation and getting those bits across the finish line, taking on the big insurance companies that have effectively broken our healthcare system. That is what I am talking to people about all across Florida. And they say, please fix healthcare. Please make life affordable again. And it's because we are so overregulated and the permitting reform is so jacked up that we need to do that work. It's not sexy in Washington, but we've got a very short window in which to accomplish that in September. We've also got to get our appropriations bills across the finish line, because the more money that Washington takes and spends, that's less money in our pockets. And so we've got to do some significant cutting at the federal budget level. And of course, there's other ticket items for some up and coming industries like crypto. There's some crypto certainty and regulatory work that is going to be happening. We've got the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. There is a long list of things that have to get accomplished in September, on top of the Save America Act, of which the Senate has absolutely dropped the ball. So I know in the House, we're ready to run. The question is the Senate going to play ball and do their job, roll up their sleeves and get to work? That is what is on the line in September. And ultimately, like I said, at the end of the day, Voters are going to go into those polling booths and say, I want equal opportunity for my kid, because if they work hard, they should be able to do whatever they want to do and achieve how much they can, versus a setup where their kid works hard and they just cannot get ahead. We want free America and Florida.
Oh, no, Congressman, no, I think that was, you made so many strong points and so many great points. Thank you so much for your time this morning. It was really great to speak with you today. Thank you for being here.
Appreciate y'all.
All right. Congresswoman Kat Cammack, thanks again. We'll be right back, everybody.